welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're zeroing in on one of history's absolute giants, Ramesses II. You probably know him as Ramesses the Great.
That's right. Our mission here is really to give you the essential insights pulled straight from the source material so you walk away truly informed about this towering figure.
He's also known by his Greek name, Ozymandias, which many might recognize from poetry.
Indeed. And his reign, well, it was just staggering. We're talking 66 years, 2 months, and 9 days on the throne.
66 years. That's almost unbelievable for that era.
It really is, and it places him right at the peak of the New Kingdom, arguably when Egypt was at its most powerful, most influential.
So he wasn't just long reigning, he was powerful.
Yeah.
What makes him so fascinating, I think, is how multifaceted he was.
Yeah.
You know, warrior, builder, diplomat.
That's exactly. He ticked all those boxes, and that's what we want to unpack for you today.
Right. We'll look at his surprising start, how he got to be Pharaoh, his major battles, especially Kadesh, that really defined his early rule.
And then the shift towards diplomacy, that amazing peace treaty, plus his unbelievable building projects. We'll even touch on his death, his mummy, and how scientists have examined it.
So you'll get the full picture, the essential Ramesses II, without getting bogged down in, endless details. Let's start at the beginning. His rise to power.
Okay, so the interesting thing here is Ramesses wasn't actually born expecting to be king. He wasn't a prince from birth.
Oh. How did that work then?
Well, his grandfather, Ramesses I, he was originally a vizier, a top official and a military guy. He became pharaoh, setting up a new dynasty.
Ah, so it was his father, Seti III, who was born into that royal line.
Precisely. And Seti saw something in his son, Ramesses. He appointed him prince regent when Ramesses was only about 14 years old.
14? Wow. That's incredibly young to be given that kind of responsibility.
It really is. So Ramesses inherited a kingdom that was, well, pretty strong, unified, ambitious. Seti, I had done a lot to stabilize things.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, I gather. There were threats.
Oh, absolutely. The big one, the persistent threat, was the Hittite Empire up in the Levant, modern-day Syria, Lebanon, that area.
Right, a major rival power.
Definitely. And that rivalry with the Hittites really shaped a lot of Ramesses' early reign. He had to prove himself.
So did he jump straight into military action?
Pretty much. He knew he couldn't just rely on his father's reputation. He needed his own victories. So he launched campaigns early on to secure Egypt's borders and project power.
Like the Sheridan Sea pirates, I read about that.
Exactly. That was in his second year as pharaoh. These pirates weren't just a nuisance. They were causing serious problems along the Mediterranean coast. Wreaking havoc, as the sources put it.
And he handled them quite cleverly, didn't he? Didn't just rush in.
No, he was patient. He sort of let them sail into a trap, thinking they were attacking their usual prey. Then, bam, he hit them with a surprise naval attack, captured the lot.
Very effective. And those descriptions of them are quite vivid. The horned helmets, the big swords.
Yeah, the Noe-2 swords, very distinctive. They must have been quite a sight. That victory really announced his arrival as a capable military leader.
Okay, so that pirate victory was early on, but the main event, militarily speaking, was Kadesh, right? Against the Hittites.
Absolutely. Kadesh was the big one. Ramesses had serious ambitions to push Egypt's influence further into Syria, which was Hittite territory.
And he prepared for this confrontation quite thoroughly.
Hugely. This is where his new capital, Ramesses, comes in. He built it in the eastern delta, much closer to Syria and Canaan.
Strategic positioning.
Exactly. And it wasn't just an administrative center. It was a massive military-industrial complex. Think weapons factories, chariot workshops.
You mentioned some figures earlier, 250 chariots in 2 weeks, 1,000 shields in about 10 days. That sounds like modern efficiency.
It's astonishing, isn't it? It shows the level of organization and resource mobilization he commanded. He was gearing up for a major conflict.
So the Battle of Kadesh itself, 5th year of his reign, around 1274 BC, often called the largest chariot battle ever.
Arguably, yes. Thousands of chariots on both sides. It was a clash of titans. But it didn't start well for Ramesses.
No. What happened?
The Hittites, led by their king Muwatalli II, managed to pull off a surprise attack. They completely ambushed one of Ramesses' main divisions.
Oh, dear. So disaster looming?
It was close. The sources say his troops were pushed to the brink of defeat. They really emphasize Ramesses' personal courage here, rallying his men, fighting almost alone at one point.
Saved by his own bravery and maybe some luck.
And reinforcements arriving just in time, yeah. He managed to turn the tide of the battle itself, avoiding a complete rout. He certainly claimed it as a massive victory back home.
Ah, but how do historians see it now? Was it really the decisive win he portrayed?
Well, that's the debate. Tactically, Ramesses salvaged the situation through his actions, but strategically.
Yeah.
It's generally thought the Hittites came out better in the overall campaign.
How so?
Because the Egyptians actually retreated south after the battle, and the Hittites temporarily moved into some Egyptian-held territory near Damascus. So, not quite the knockout blow Ramesses claimed.
Right. More complex than the propaganda suggests.
Yeah.
But he didn't give up on Syria.
Not at all. Ramesses was persistent. A few years later, around his 7th and 8th year, he was back campaigning hard in Syria.
Trying to regain that lost ground and influence.
Exactly. He even split his forces. One army, led by his son Amun-her-Kepeshef, went south, capturing places in Edom and Moab.
While Ramses himself headed for key cities.
Yeah, he targeted Jerusalem, Jericho, and eventually pushed north again, recapturing the region around Damascus, known as Yupi. He really wanted to reestablish Egyptian dominance.
Did he succeed in pushing further north?
He did. He went as far as a place called Dapur in modern Syria and even erected a statue of himself there, a clear statement of his power.
And his sons were involved in this too.
Yes. The records mention 6 of his young sons, still wearing their sidelocks. That hairstyle indicated youth participating in the conquest. He was grooming the next generation right there on the battlefield.
That's quite a hands-on approach to succession planning. Okay, so years of conflict with the Hittites, but eventually things changed.
They did, and this leads to one of Ramesses' most enduring legacies, actually. After years of back and forth, both empires seemed to realize the cost of perpetual war.
So they talked peace.
Yes. In year 21 of Ramesses' reign, around 1259 BC, Egypt and the Hittites, now under King Hattusili III, concluded a formal peace treaty. We often call it the Treaty of Kadesh.
And this wasn't just any treaty, right? It's considered quite special.
It's incredibly special. It's widely considered the first recorded peace treaty in history for which we have the actual text.
Wow. The first one we know of.
That's right. And what's even more amazing is that we have versions from both sides, one inscribed in Egyptian hieroglyphs on temple walls, and another found in the Hittite archives, written in Akkadian cuneiform on clay tablets.
That's fantastic. Does having both versions tell us anything interesting?
Oh, definitely. The core agreement is the same, 18 articles calling for peace, mutual defense, extradition of fugitives, that sort of thing. But the introductions, the framing...
Subtle differences.
Yeah, each side kind of presents itself as the one graciously granting peace or the one who was sought out for peace. A bit of diplomatic spin even back then.
Fascinating. What actually prompted the treaty at that specific moment? Was there a trigger?
There was a bit of a diplomatic crisis, actually. The previous Hittite king, Meruli III, had been overthrown by Hattusili III and fled. Guess where?
To Egypt.
Exactly. Hattusili demanded him back. Ramesses refused, and things got very tense. They came close to war again. The treaty basically resolved this and put relations on a stable footing. It ushered in decades of peace.
So Ramesses the warrior also became Ramesses the diplomat, a masterstroke, really.
It shows a strategic maturity, absolutely. And securing that northern border freed him up to focus on his other great passion, building.
Ah, yes, the monuments. He's probably most famous for those today.
Without a doubt. His building program was unprecedented. Started early, in his 3rd year. His stated goal was literally to cover the land with buildings in a way no monarch before him had.
And he wasn't just building more, he was building differently, too. Something about the carvings.
Yes, that's a key innovation. He favored deeply sunk relief carvings, called bas-relief encre. They were much harder for later pharaohs to usurp or alter.
Clever, making his mark permanent.
And they stand out more dramatically in the bright Egyptian sun. It connected his image visually to Ra, the sun god. Very deliberate.
We mentioned Ramesses earlier, his new capital. That was a huge undertaking in itself.
Massive. Moving the capital from Thebes wasn't just about military strategy near Syria. It was a statement, a new era.
What was the city like?
Huge temples, naturally. A vast royal palace. Apparently, it even had its own zoo.
A zoo in ancient Egypt.
Seems so. Sadly, not much is left visible today at the site, near modern Kontir. Mostly just fragments, like the colossal feet of a giant Ramesses statue. Poignant, really.
But some of his other monuments are incredibly well preserved, right? Like Abu Simbel.
Oh, Abu Simbel is spectacular. Down in Nubia, carved directly into the cliff face. Inaugurated around 1255 BC, dedicated to himself and his favorite queen, Nefertari.
Those 4 seated statues of him on the front, they're iconic. Absolutely enormous.
Colossal is the word. But maybe the most ingenious part is the solar alignment.
Right, the sun penetrating the temple.
Twice a year, on specific dates, the rising sun shines all the way down the central corridor to illuminate the statues of the gods and Ramesses himself in the innermost sanctuary. It's breathtaking, ancient engineering and astronomy combined.
Just incredible. And what about his mortuary temple, the Ramesseum?
The Ramesseum back in Thebes on the West Bank, even ancient Greek historians like Diodorus Siculus were amazed by it.
What'd they see?
Well, today it's mostly ruins, but you can still grasp the scale. There was this gigantic granite statue of Ramesses enthroned, estimated at 17 meters high, weighing over 1,000 tons.
1,000 tons. How did they even move that?
It boggles the mind, doesn't it? Only fragments remain now, but the reliefs depicting his battles, like Kadesh, are still visible.
And there was something else found there, a school.
Yes, traces of a school for scribes. It suggests the temple precinct wasn't just religious, it was an administrative and educational hub, too.
Fascinating. And Ramesses keeps popping up in the news even today, doesn't he? With new discoveries.
He really does. It's amazing how much is still being found. Like in 2006, they had to move that huge 83-ton statue of him in Cairo because exhaust fumes were damaging it. Imagine moving that.
A modern engineering challenge reflecting an ancient one. What else has turned up recently?
Well, in 2018, they found parts of a special booth, maybe used for his said festivals. Those were jubilees celebrating his long reign or even his coronation.
Wow, a piece of royal ceremony furniture.
Then in 2019, a unique red granite bust of him was found. It represented his Ka, his life force, or spirit double. First one ever found made of granite, apparently.
And very recently, a sword.
Yeah, just September 2024. At a 3,200-year-old fort, archaeologists unearthed a golden sword with Ramses II's signature. Incredible finds that keep connecting us back to him.
So after this incredibly long and eventful life, ruling for over 66 years, building empires and monuments, how did it end for Ramesses the man?
He died at a very old age for the time, around 90.
90.
Yeah. But his mummy, which is remarkably well preserved, tells us he wasn't in great shape towards the end.
What kind of issues did he have?
Pretty severe dental problems, for one. Lots of wear, abscesses. Also, bad arthritis, particularly in his hip, which would have made him stooped over with a hunched back.
So the mighty Pharaoh was physically frail in his later years.
Definitely. Examinations also showed signs of hardening of the arteries and heart disease. And one particular dental abscess was apparently so serious it might have caused lethal infection.
A rather mundane end, potentially, for such a larger-than-life figure. Where was he buried?
Originally in his tomb in the Valley of the Kings, KV7, but like many royal tombs, it was targeted by robbers in ancient times.
So his mummy wasn't found there.
No. Ancient priests actually moved his mummy and others multiple times to protect them from looting. His body was eventually found in 1881, hidden in a secret cache, TT-320, along with many other famous pharaohs.
Quite a journey after death. And it's now in the museum in Cairo.
Yes, in the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. It even went on a trip to Paris in 1976 for study and conservation.
Ah, and that Paris examination caused a bit of a stir, didn't it? Something about his hair.
It did. The forensic scientist Pierre-Fernand Chicaldi reported finding that Ramses had slightly wavy red hair and suggested he was of a Berber type.
Red hair, really?
Microscopic analysis confirmed traces of red pigment. Chicaldi suggested Ramesses came from a family of redheads, maybe even linking it to the god Set, who is sometimes depicted with red hair.
But that finding wasn't universally accepted.
No. The Senegalese scholar Cheikh Anta Diop strongly disputed it, arguing you couldn't determine ethnicity just from hair type like that, and that other groups, like Nubians, needed to be considered for comparison. It highlights how complex interpreting this kind of evidence is.
A good reminder. What about his family? He must have had a large one, ruling for so long.
Immense. His chief wife, Queen Nefertari, was clearly very important to him. Her tomb in the Valley of the Queens is considered one of the most beautiful ever found.
What makes it so special?
The artwork is just stunning. Vivid colors, detailed scenes from the Book of the Dead, a beautiful astronomical ceiling. It really shows the artistry of the era.
And children. Lots of them.
An incredible number. Estimates suggest he may have had over 100 children, maybe around 52 sons.
52 sons.
Yeah. We know this partly because of another tomb discovery, KV5, in the Valley of the Kings. It turned out to be a massive family mausoleum for many of his sons.
The largest tomb there?
Yes. A sprawling complex of corridors and chambers. Sadly, it was heavily looted in antiquity, but the mummified remains of some sons were found there. It really speaks to the scale of his dynasty.
It absolutely does. And his influence, his myth, Lives on way beyond Egyptology, right?
Oh, completely. Think of Shelley's poem Ozymandias. Look on my works, ye mighty, in despair. That's Ramesses. The poem uses him as a symbol of the transience of power.
And he often gets cast as the Pharaoh in the story of Moses in the Exodus.
Yes, famously in films like Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments, that was Yul Brynner, and the animated movie The Prince of Egypt, voiced by Ralph Fiennes.
Though historians generally don't see the Exodus story as literal history.
Correct. Scholars generally don't find historical or archaeological evidence to support the biblical account as it's written. But Ramesses' fame made him the default candidate for that role in popular imagination.
There was also some debate about his cause of death related to religious texts.
Ah, yes. The physician Maurice Bucaille, looking at the mummy, suggested findings consistent with drowning, linking it to the Quranic version of the pharaoh's fate during the Exodus.
If that's disputed.
Very much so. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, for example, points out that crucial evidence, like the lungs, are missing from the mummy due to the mummification process, so determining drowning is basically impossible. It shows how interpretations can be influenced by different frameworks.
So wrapping this up, Ramesses II, what a reign. Truly deserving of the title, the Great.
Absolutely. You have this incredible combination of military might, diplomatic skill, and just monumental ambition in building. He fundamentally shaped Egypt and its image for millennia.
We've traced his journey, using the sources, from that unexpected rise to power through Kadesh, the peace treaty, the temples, right up to his mummy. It's quite a story.
It really covers the full spectrum of leadership in the ancient world. A warrior, a peacemaker, a builder, a father to a nation, and dozens of children.
So perhaps the thought to leave everyone with is this. Reflecting on Ramesses II, what can his long and impactful life teach us today about ambition, about the balance between conflict and diplomacy, and maybe about how a leader crafts a legacy that echoes through thousands of years?
A lot to think about there. His story certainly shows that legacies are complex, built in stone, recorded in treaties, but also reimagined in poems and films, constantly being